Recording started.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video and I hope you're all doing well. With me today I've got author John Blaney. He is the author of many books on the Beatles, a few of which I've got here and I'll show you in a minute. Welcome, John.
Hello Beatley Tone, thank you for having me, and hello virtual viewers. I hope you're having a nice day.
So your most recent book is this one here, Paul McCartney, the songs he was singing, and this is volume 5 of your book, which covers the period of 2010 to 2019. Now, when John first got in touch with me a few months ago, he sent me a few of his other books that he's written. I've got this one that he's written on John Lennon's solo career. Listen to this book, which he very kindly sent me for free. And also this one here, George Harrison's Soul Man, which is the first of 2 parts, I believe. And this one covers the 70s period, right?
Yes, everything from... No, it's everything from the late 60s to 79.
Yeah, it goes up to the George Harrison album. That's and right. I also have in my collection this book written by John, which I bought myself many years ago. This is Together Alone, with a really disturbing front cover on it. Was that your design, John, or did someone
No, that was the publisher's, and actually you should have seen it before I asked for some alterations. It looked like a sumo wrestler. His neck was like massive.
Yeah. It's very odd, I have to say.
It is,
It's very odd, but very good book. Very good book.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk about the new book, which is currently on sale. You can get it from Amazon. I believe it's 25 quid, and well worth the money. And ideal for Christmas stocking fillers. For sure.
Or your main present, actually. Maybe your main present. I mean,
maybe your main present at 25 quid, maybe. But this covers the period of 2010 to 2019. And one of the features of all John's books is this, or in this series anyway, is on the front cover. He features the label of the first album that is covered by the book, and on the back, the final one. So we've got Band on the Run and Egypt Station. And you might be thinking, well, why is Band on the Run on the first album? And that is because in this series, this edition of John's book is the period that covers all the archive editions, all the Paul McCartney archive editions, the first of which was the Band on the Run one in 2010. So all the archive collections to date are included in this book, apart from Flaming Pie. I think Flaming Pie was 2020, wasn't it? So it goes
Flaming Pie came out, after the cut-off date.
And
it does make sense to have Band on the Run on the cover. I know a few people might be confused because it came out in 1973. What are you doing? So no, it does make sense because, as you say, it was re-released for the 3rd time in 2010 with the archive release. So that's why it's on the cover.
And we'll just talk about Band on the Run just for a sec. Do you think that I'm pretty sure they'll do a half-speed master for it, because with it being the 50th anniversary coming up in December, although I've got a feeling they might hold that over till early next year. But do you think they'll do any more than that to celebrate the 50th anniversary? Do you think there could be an expanded archive edition? The reason I'm asking this is because we kind of learned from the McCartney Legacy book that the original demos that were done for the Band on the Run, that for all these years we were under the impression that they were robbed from Paul and Linda when they were ambushed when they were in Lagos, and therefore they didn't have any demos. But we understood from the McCartney Legacy book that they recorded all the demos for the songs before they left for Lagos with Henry McCulloch and Denny Sywell as well. I'm wondering whether there's any possibility that these might turn up on a expanded edition. What do you think?
Well,
I know you don't have an inside, key into what Paul's thinking, but gut feeling?
No, quite simply, we've had it's been reissued twice, and if MPL had access to that material, I'm sure they would have used it. Unless, of course, they are holding it back. Maybe they thought, oh, we'll hold it back so we can release it for a fourth time. I mean, I don't know. But as you say, those demos were recorded at McCartney's studio in Scotland.
Yeah.
So there's a 4-track, somewhere there's a 4-track master. That's what they recorded on.
Yeah.
From the 4-track master, you create a 2-track stereo master, 1/4-inch tape. So that's second tape. From that, you make your cassettes, which is what he took with him on holiday, right? And I presume that he gave cassettes to the other members of the band, so Denny Lane, McCulloch, Sywell. There's a lot of tapes somewhere, but nobody seems to know where they are. And I've got a feeling, this is just speculation on my part, is that possibly the master recordings have been misfiled. That's the only thing that can have happened. They're in an archive somewhere and they've been misfiled or mislabeled. That's the only thing I can think of. So maybe they'll stumble across them.
Yeah,
maybe,
you would have
I don't know.
You would have thought when they did the Band on the Run archive, they would have searched high and low for these.
Exactly, and they're pretty good at archiving McCartney's collection. I mean, he's had a team of archivists working on his collection for a number of years. That's why there've been the books, the archive collection. There's been all sorts of things. They've been digitizing it. I'm sure that they would have digitized if they had the tapes. They would have digitized them. It would have been at Abbey Road. They would have, made safety copies. Blah blah blah. The fact that they haven't, as far as we know, suggests that they either don't exist anymore or they've been misfiled. So the mystery deepens.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a shame because it would have been so interesting to hear those demos with Henry McCulloch and Denny Sywell playing on them, and hear how they would have sounded compared with what Paul did himself, the bits that Paul played himself on the actual record. So it would have been.
It's just the holy grail, really. I mean, that's everyone would love to hear them. So if they do exist, MPL, then we would gladly pay again to hear them.
Yeah,
wouldn't we?
We would, like we always do. Like we always do. More product, bring it on, bring it on.
Exactly.
It's lucky we've only got 2 kidneys that we can sell. So what I should have also mentioned when I was talking about the content of the book is it doesn't just cover the archive collections. It does also talk about all the regular albums that have come out during this time. So we've got a full review of the new album and Egypt Station as well. Now, I might have to get you to hold some bits up because of my hand. Okay. I can't really hold it.
No, you carry on. Yeah.
But I was going to say that the when you write about these albums, not only do you give all the information about the recording, who plays what on the tracks, and but you also give a review. So these books work as a 2-pronged thing. Firstly, as a reference book, but also as a review, and I think that's why people like them, because
thank you.
People, we do this thing on on YouTube where everyone is giving their opinions about various records and various songs and all that sort of thing, and people like to know other people's opinions, even if they don't agree with them. In fact, they probably like them more if they don't agree with them, because then it gives them something to talk about. So that's what, one of the things that I really like about the book is that you've given a full review of every single track, and you don't really hold back on your opinions, do you?
No,
because there's no point. Because there's no point doing a review.
There's no point. I mean, no, it doesn't. I'm not going to gain from sucking up to Paul McCartney.
No,
there's nothing to gain, and to be honest with you, I'm not the sort of person who can just say this is absolutely brilliant whilst thinking this is absolutely rubbish. I can't do it. So I have, I am honest, and with this book, it was a struggle a lot of the times to try and find something positive to say about some of the material, because I felt that especially some of the archive material, it was just very, very disappointing as far as I was concerned.
I will come on to that. I've got that as something that I want to talk to you about. Do you think that it becomes easier to criticize what Paul puts out, or certain songs that he puts out, because he has set the bar so high?
Well, yeah, because he was in the Beatles.
Yeah. He was in the Beatles, but also he has done some fantastic stuff as a solo artist as well. And
he has.
When he doesn't maintain that standard, it becomes a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, but I think the one consistent in McCartney's career has been his inconsistency. McCartney album, good, not great. Ram, great. Wildlife, I like it, but it's not great. Red Rose Speedway, well, I really don't like Red Rose Speedway. Band on the Run, brilliant. What comes next? Venus and Mars, good. It's if you were to do a graph of McCartney's last 50 years, it would be up and down all over the place. It is so inconsistent.
It would be, but everybody's graph would be different.
Exactly. Everybody. So sorry, viewers. If you do like Red Rose Speedway, then good for you. I personally don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it does divide fans for sure on opinions, especially when you think about something like Ram that was universally slated when it came out. I mean, not that I was around at that time, but from what I've read about it, it was universally slated. I know McCartney wasn't Flavour of the Month at that particular time, but now it's considered somewhat of a masterpiece.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, I've been doing some research recently. If you look at contemporary reviews from the 1970s, journalists really aren't afraid to speak their mind, and there are some reviews where albums that we now consider, really, top of the pile, are absolutely slated. They're completely slagged off. And I think what's happened, certainly in the last 30 or 40 years, is that magazine editors are very careful about the kind of reviews they print, because what's important to them is selling advertising space. And if you give someone like Paul McCartney a bad review, the record company is likely to say, he didn't give that a very good review, did you? No more advertising for you for a while. I do think that's what's happened. If you read reviews in the press these days, they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you nothing about the music. Well, at least 50 years ago, journalists had an opinion, and they weren't afraid to give it.
No, that's something that I've noticed, over the last maybe 10 years or so. I mean, I subscribe to Mojo magazine, so I get that every month, and they hardly give any album less than 4 stars as a review.
Exactly.
Very rarely do they give anything less than 4 stars. You might
Yeah.
get 2 or 3 stars, but you never get 1 star or 2 stars like you used to get, in the Melody
Exactly.
Maker years ago and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it's just commercial pressures, and that's that they want to sit on the fence. It's better to sit on the fence and say nothing than to cause offence to a major recording artist who's got a lot of power and can do a lot of financial damage to your magazine. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, let's talk about the origins of the book, because obviously you've done the first 4 volumes, but the last 10 years, there's only really 2 pop albums
Yeah.
to talk about, but you have included all the archives, and I understand that our very own Tom Hunyadi was influential in talking you into writing episode 5 or the volume 5. Tell us about that. What did he say to you, and how did he talk you into it?
Well, I'd started it and got halfway through, and I was, as I said before, I was struggling to find anything positive to say about a lot of the material, and I really didn't want to write a book that just slagged off Paul McCartney. I mean,
Yeah.
it would have been a really boring read for a start, So I just stopped. I just thought I can't do this. And I just left it for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I was having one of these online chats with 2 Legs podcasters.
Yeah.
And Tom was saying, "Oh no, there's lots of people out there been asking about it. They want to know when Volume 5's coming out." And I said, "Really? I mean,
Yeah.
really?"
I mean, when I did a video about your book, a couple of months ago, there was very positive comments from that. People were looking forward to. I mean, it hadn't actually come out at that point.
I haven't read it yet.
People, weren't. People were looking forward to buying it, and was, I'm definitely going to order it. I'm going to pre-order it, and all this sort of thing. So people are into the book now, because of the period 2010 to 2019. Were you tempted to include McCartney 3 on the basis that there probably isn't going to be a volume 6?
No,
No.
because
Okay.
I'm one of those people that if I started a series of books that go from 1970 to 79, 80 to 89, 90 to 99, if I suddenly do one that goes from 2010 to 2021 or something, that's going to really annoy me. And if it's going to really annoy me, it's going to really annoy all the people who read those books. Why has he done this? Why has he stuck an extra 2 years in there? No,
Okay.
so I couldn't do it. I mean, who knows? There might be a volume 6. I mean, apparently he's recording, so
there might be,
there might
but
be.
we're not sure how much material there would be. Even if he does, well, if he does 2 more albums, then maybe you've got enough with that and McCartney 3.
Yeah. Well, it can be a pamphlet. I'll publish it as a pamphlet,
Pamphlet.
or a brochure or something,
So as an exclusive to my channel, what do you think of McCartney 3?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it's if you just take those 3 albums, McCartney 2, and McCartney 3,
Yeah.
it sits within the canon. I would certainly listen to it more than McCartney 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would listen to it as much as McCartney. I do like the first McCartney album. It has a certain charm to it.
It does.
And McCartney 3, I haven't listened to it for a while, but there are some good songs on there. I don't know. There are certain albums you keep returning to, aren't there? With whoever your favorite artist is, and I'm not sure that any of the McCartney albums would be in my top 10. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe
No.
McCartney would be in my top 10, but McCartney 2. I really liked when it came out. When it, 1980 or whenever it came out, I thought, oh, this is a great album.
Yeah.
And I listen to it now and I think, well, no, actually, there are three good
No.
songs on it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
three good songs on it. It's an EP, great EP, Paul.
Yeah.
Not such a great album. McCartney 2, I'll have to, I haven't listened to it for a long time. I'd have to listen to it maybe for another 10 or 15 years and reevaluate it. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's got 3 or 4 good songs on it.
Yeah.
And we can't really ask for much more than McCartney these days.
Yeah, I really like it, McCartney 3, but it took me about a year to like it. I had to I had to keep persevering with it, and
Yeah, yeah,
I think out of the three, I probably prefer it as out of the three. I mean, McCartney 1 is easier to call it. McCartney 1
yeah,
has got a couple of classic songs on it, which McCartney
mm,
3 doesn't, but
yeah,
it's very inconsistent. It's got a lot of throwaway stuff on it. I
yeah.
think maybe McCartney 3 hangs better together as an album in its entirety. That's not just my opinion, but I was interested
Mm.
to hear what you thought about it. What the archive collection? Do you think it's dead? Is it finished? Because we're talking about how we might pad out volume 6.
Yeah.
You might be reliant on there being, later, some more archive editions. Do you think that project's dead? Been 3.5 years now since
Well, it
one.
makes you wonder. I mean, obviously, there's been lots of Beatle activity this year,
Yeah,
and I don't think McCartney or his team would
yeah,
want to compete with the Beatles material.
no,
There's certainly lots of stuff sitting in the archives that they could release. I mean, there's a Back to the Egg that hasn't been done yet. Off
yeah,
the Ground, I haven't done that. I mean, there's lots of material sitting around for that. So the scope for more archival releases.
yeah,
Um, Perhaps they're holding back because they think maybe the market isn't as strong as it was. I
yeah,
really don't know. Again, kind of comes back to whether or not it's commercially viable because it costs a
yeah.
lot of money to put these things together. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a market for it amongst hardcore fans. They've got, but
Yeah,
they've got to kind of get their numbers right, haven't they? Because I
exactly.
think
Yeah.
Flaming Pie didn't sell that well. I mean, it
Mm.
was a huge box, and therefore it was hugely expensive. So maybe that was a
Yeah.
reason. Also, in the middle of COVID as well that it came out. So there
Yeah.
might be reasons for that, but um, I mean, everyone on the channel, not everyone obviously, but people that are already invested in these
Yeah.
archive series and they and they want to see it finished. I mean,
Yeah. Cool.
I think everyone kind of agrees that basically the series finishes when Linda passes away, because it's a kind of a joint project between the music and the photographs that Linda has
Yeah.
taken. So Flaming Pie is the end of the road as far as the the timeline goes. But as you
Yeah.
say, we've got Press to Play, we've got Off the Ground, we've got Back
Yeah.
to the Air, London
Yeah.
Town, as a minimum, as an absolute push. Although I wouldn't be bothered if they didn't do them. You could have something like an unplugged one, because we know there were other songs that that he did,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
live, that weren't on the official release. So
Yeah.
there are
Actually, very quickly, story about that. I went to that secret gig at the Mean Fiddler. You remember
uh,
around the time
yeah,
of Unplugged, he did all those secret gigs.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
that gig at the Mean Fiddler, and as I came out, I was looking at there was a kind of a sound desk to
yeah.
the side, and I'm sure there was an ADAT running. There was a tape running. It was
Right.
recorded. Now, whether or not it was recorded to multi-track tape or whether it was just a mixing board tape, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that someone somewhere has a
That's-
tape of that. So and I'm sure McCartney would have recorded some of those gigs, even if
Yeah.
there were samples. And
Because
now we know with AI technology, you can do wonders with that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
because he did an acoustic set and an electric set, didn't he, at those
That's
secret
right.
gigs?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they started off doing
Yeah.
numbers acoustically. Then I think there was a bit of a break. and then they came on and did like a full band, plugged in set. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, one thing that encourages me that the archive collection isn't dead is that the Got Back tour program that he did in the US, and obviously now he's done in Australia and he's in Brazil at the moment. Now, I interviewed someone that was at the one of the Australian gigs, and he went through the program, and I asked him, because I know that in the US one there was a page about the archive editions, and at the end of that page it said, look out for new archive editions coming soon. Now, when I interviewed the guy that was at the Melbourne gig, he went through the program for me, and the archive page was still in there. Now, they had made changes to the tour book from what they used, the one that they used in the States, because they'd added information about the the 80 singles crate, the McCartney one,
okay,
two,
yeah,
three,
yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. They'd added things, and therefore would have had the opportunity to take things out as well. So
Mm,
you know,
yeah,
if it was
yeah.
dead, they probably would have taken it out, and I'm hanging on to that as as a little clue that we might still get um, some more. But they have been mixed, haven't they? I mean, you go through it in the book.
Yeah.
You cover
Mm,
everything, every musical item that's included in
yeah.
every archive edition, and some are better than others, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I really think it should have stayed in the archive. It
Yeah,
really doesn't do McCartney's reputation any good. Perhaps they were desperate for material. I mean, but to be fair, while there is some utter dross, there's some
yeah,
great stuff. All that stuff he did with Elvis Costello,
yeah,
fantastic,
yeah,
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you gave the Flowers in the Dirt book a very favourable review
mm,
in there,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Mm.
And although you said about you didn't want to write a book slagging off McCartney, you give quite a lot of the new songs a good review in this
Yeah.
book,
I mean,
particularly
I listen
on
to
Egypt
everything.
Station. I mean, Egypt Station, you seem to like quite a lot of stuff on
Yeah.
Egypt Station.
It,
Maybe
it's
less.
by it's by no means all bad. I mean,
No,
I, the phrase "curate's egg" keeps popping into my head, and for overseas viewers who don't know what a curate's egg is, it's something that's good in parts. And I think recently, as we said, inconsistency has been key to McCartney's career. But the thing is about Paul McCartney, there are always three, four, five really good songs on an album.
yeah,
He's never made an album that has been bad. There is not a bad Paul McCartney album, by which I mean every track is utter rubbish, right? We've all
yeah,
got
yeah,
albums in our collection. You kind of go, why did I buy this? This is rubbish. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. If you buy a
yeah,
Paul McCartney album, there are always good songs on it. He can still write a good song. I did have issues with some of the production techniques on the last couple of albums because I thought he was like following trends
yeah.
and
Well, by using producers that were in vogue then, if you like.
in vogue. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought that um is what Glenn John's son, is it Evan Johns?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought he did some really good work with McCartney. Get someone like him to produce an album, and I think
yeah,
it'd be an absolute killer. But when he's kind of working with people because they happen to be trendy or they've had lots of hits with Adele, Paul McCartney isn't Adele, all right?
no,
And I might have
no,
said this somewhere before. Paul McCartney is at his best when he's allowed to be Paul McCartney.
yeah,
When he's
yeah,
trying to compete with Adele or Taylor
yeah,
Swift or someone, it
yeah,
doesn't work. It doesn't work. His strength is being himself. And
It is.
if you're a producer, your job is to let the artist be themselves, not try and
Yeah,
shoehorn them into some trendy musical style that doesn't really suit them. That's
yeah.
bad production in my book.
And also, I guess by doing that, he's kind of chasing after a new audience, but he doesn't want
Yeah,
to alienate his current audience, which makes up,
yeah,
90% of, of his audience have
yeah,
been with it for years. And I think what you're saying about the producers is right. And I think maybe, getting someone like Nigel Godrich to produce Chaos and Creation is the reason why that album turned out so well.
yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah,
Nigel Godrich wasn't afraid to say, no, no, Paul, don't like that. That is
right,
rubbish.
exactly.
He wasn't afraid because because of his standing. He was one of the top producers at the time, producing
Mm,
Radiohead and bands that were on top of their game at that
yeah,
particular time. But I just wanted to bring up this little passage in your book because it just really made me laugh when I read it. This is what you say about I Can Bet from the new album.
right.
You say, imagine if Paul McCartney channeled his inner Prince or the artist formerly known as. I Can Bet is the result. It's one thing being Prince attempting to be Prince-ish is entirely another. These things are usually best left for those who can pull it off. For now. Unfortunately, McCartney's attempt falls somewhat flat, or should that be flaccid? I want to bet that review of I Can Bet, that isn't all that John says about I Can Bet, by the way, but that bit that made me laugh.
That's the bit you can
I can
publish.
bet that is the only knob gag in a Paul McCartney book.
Probably.
But it did make me laugh, so I just
That's I used to be a big fan of Viz comics. I still buy it.
well, I knew that. That's where the finale came from.
For now.
Yeah,
But you can't. You have to inject some kind of humour, otherwise you just come off as some po-faced, miserable old git, really. Don't
yeah,
you? And music is supposed to be fun. If you can't,
yeah,
you can't enjoy yourself, then
yeah.
don't buy music. Don't listen to music. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong.
So when you wrote that paragraph, did you think, oh, should I keep this in or should I scrap? Nah, I'll keep it in. It's funny.
No, that was a keeper.
Yeah. One thing that I always like to ask people when I talk to them is how did you become a Beatles fan? What?
Well, my friend, I have something to show you.
Okay.
This is this.
Ah, I've
There
got
you
one.
go.
I've
Yeah,
got one of those.
yeah. So
1976.
1976. This is my original copy I bought in 1976.
Yeah,
I just got into the Beatles. Just got
yeah,
into the Beatles. I was at school and I'd taken music because it was a dead easy option and I was allowed to do it.
yeah.
And the only book of popular songs that our school had was the Beatles Complete.
Yeah, I
And I,
remember that.
and I
Yeah,
was like you, I see the guitar, so I was trying to learn to play some guitar, and I had the Beatles Complete. And around the same time, EMI, here we go, I'll show you something else. About the same time, these came out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
So I
So that,
remember I remember getting home one lunchtime, shoveling down my baked beans on toast, cycling up to town to go to Boots Audio,
yeah,
rifling through the box and buying. It wasn't that. It was Strawberry Fields Forever. I bought Strawberry Fields, cycled home, managed to play the A and the B side before I had to go back to school.
yeah,
And then a bit later on, I was happened to be, out and about in Bracknell. I live in the south of England. and I saw this. Oh, wow, what's that? And it was a whole magazine about the Beatles, and this was hugely important in the days before the internet. This became hugely important because eventually Mark Lewison started writing for this. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, yes. He used to write the news sections.
That's right. There used to be a news section.
News,
Yeah.
Not
That's
on
the
those
old
early
news.
copies, but later on. I mean,
That's
those reprints went out to about 2003 eventually.
Yeah, but that was where you got all your information from. So these were
Yeah,
indispensable. You know, always a new George Harrison album coming out, always a new Ringo Starr single. That's where you got all your information out of this thing. Not
yeah,
only did you get this fantastic period magazine with all sorts of letters from Beatles people and things like that, and photographs and all that kind of stuff, you got
yeah,
all the latest news as well. So
yeah,
that's how I became a Beatles fan. Really, it was partly because of this, and partly because of this.
yeah. It's
All around that time.
And it's also interesting in those Beatles monthlies reading the news sections that were printed in the book at the time, with those
Oh
the Beatles have been, this month the Beatles have been working on a brand new song called "All My Loving," and
yeah, it's great for all that.
So it's like, but I maintain. So me and you, we got on this magical mystery tour bus at the same time, 1976.
Yeah.
And I always say that I think it's the best year to have discovered the Beatles outside of being a teenager in the 60s, because we had the Beatles monthly they started reprinting the Beatles monthly. All the singles came out on the green, in the green covers, which when you're trying to get all the songs, because it's not just about getting all the albums, there's all these B-sides that you can only get on the back of singles. I mean, the Rock and Roll Music album, which also came out in '76, helped because that enabled you to get the Long Tall Sally EP tracks. But I bought those singles on the green in the green covers, but I only bought the ones that had B-sides that weren't on any of the albums. So that was part of my getting the full collection. And the other thing, I don't know if you remember this, John, but also in 1976. The BBC in the summer of 1976 also showed all the Beatles films consecutively on a Tuesday night I think in August of '76 or something like that. They showed Hard Day's Night one week, then Help. They didn't show Magical Mystery Tour, but then they showed Yellow Submarine and then Let It Be, 4 consecutive weeks.
I vaguely remember that. Did they show them a few years later at Christmas?
Oh yeah, they've shown them plenty of times, but it just so happened that they showed these films, just as I'd kind of got into the, I sort of, it was, for me, it was about April or May, 1976. So by the time August came around, and of course you remember August in 1976 was the hottest summer we've ever had, isn't it?
Yeah. And of course we also had all the solo stuff as well. So Paul McCartney, was still at the height. Wings were at their height. Wings at the speed of Wings over America.
Yeah.
I remember that coming out, and you could buy all your Beatles records, and you could still go out and buy all the new solo stuff as well. Ringo Starr albums, and George Harrison albums. They were still relevant. They were still making music.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Yeah.
It was like when you're kind of reading and learning about them, and it seems that everyone was quite cross that they'd split up. I'm there thinking, well, actually, I'm quite glad they split up, because we've got all these solo albums as well to collect. If they stayed together, we might have only had about 3 more albums by 1976, or 4 more albums, and consequently we've got about 20 or something like that. So
exactly. Yeah, it was great. It was great because we had the best of both worlds. That's what it was, really.
Yeah. Okay, well that's interesting to know. And so you've written you've written more on Paul than John and George, but is Paul's solo career your favourite solo career to write about?
No.
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 Whose is?
It would be a very close thing between Lennon and Harrison. Um, I I think musically, politically, spiritually,
Yeah.
they're far more interesting than Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney may be the better songwriter,
Yeah.
may be the better musician, he may be the better vocalist, but John Lennon, although he had a fairly short life, he packed an awful lot into it.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he you know, and he did some very interesting things. He did a lot of very interesting things that some people might hate. All those avant-garde albums he did with Yoko Ono,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not what you would call easy listening, but they're
No,
they're they're
they're
very interesting.
they're not listenable.
Well,
You got to hear them once.
no, I wouldn't say that I listen to them very often,
No.
but musically they are interesting, and all the things they did with the Plastic Ono band and Yoko Ono Plastic Ono band, which is John Lennon and Ringo Starr. That's
Yeah.
a fantastic, a really powerful album. Whether or not you like Yoko Ono,
Yeah.
that's a great
I do.
album.
I like the stuff when she's doing proper songs.
Yeah,
I like the stuff. I find the screaming stuff a little bit difficult.
yeah,
Although the the Plastic Ono Band album is just fantastic. More for the playing of John and Ringo, just
oh yeah,
and Klaus, rocking out really. But I
yeah,
prefer her sort of mid-70s stuff.
right,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but I do caveat it. I do caveat it in the fact that probably if she wasn't married to John, or John didn't play on some of those albums, then I probably wouldn't touch them with a barge pole. But
yeah.
I've kind of if I'm being honest about it,
Oh no,
I,
no, no.
I've
Yeah,
I've enjoyed some of her stuff, and some her songs on Double Fantasy I think are fantastic, especially on side one,
yeah.
which when that came out and we'd just been through the sort of the punk and new wave thing.
Mm.
She'd obviously learned a lot more about the music scene up to that point than John had, because John was sort of picking up where he
Yeah, yeah.
left off. But she was going in a completely different direction. Really like her songs on side one, fantastic. Tails
Oh
off
yeah,
on side two, but
yeah.
so when did you decide that you wanted to write about the Beatles? I mean,
Um,
is it been like a full-time job for you, or
oh
more of
no, no, no.
so you've got another other career?
It's a hobby.
It's a
It's
hobby.
like it's a hobby. I mean, most people who write about pop music tend to be fans. I mean, it's
Yeah,
very difficult to make any. I would say it's almost impossible to make a living out of writing about pop music unless you're a journalist who happens to have a full-time job at Mojo or one of
yeah,
those magazines. So I think most people who write about these bands are all fans, and it started late 90s, 1998, 1999.
yeah,
I was looking for a Paul McCartney discography, and there weren't any. At least there
yeah,
weren't any complete ones.
yeah.
And this was just the internet was just coming in, but there wasn't a huge amount of information on there. And I thought, well, if no one else is going to write one, I suppose I'd better do it. Um,
Someone, it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
exactly. No one else seemed to be doing it, so I thought, oh well, I'll have a crack and I'll have a go at doing it, and I enjoyed it. It did fairly well, and then I thought, well, I've done Paul McCartney, I'll do John Lennon next, and then that led to a publishing deal with Jawbone, and they're the ones who did the Together Alone,
Yeah.
and then that kind of led to there's another Beatles one called Beatles for Sale. That's an original title. About the Beatles business,
Yeah,
not so much about the music, but about their business.
yeah,
Um, and then it kind of just oh, I've done John, I've done Paul, I better do a George one, and
Yeah.
it just
So
kind of snowballs from there, really.
yeah. So
Mm.
I've got a few questions from viewers because I asked viewers if they
Yeah, okay.
wanted me to ask you anything. So I've got one of my subscribers, Terry Mann, he asked, what about, have you ever considered doing something similar to this, but for the Beatles catalogue?
No,
No. And is there
because,
go on.
yes, there is a reason. Uh, you'll probably be aware of Bruce Spicer,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
books.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Job
Yeah.
done. They're the best. I mean, you can't better it. I can't better the work he's done, and he's published a UK discography and a very extensive American discography. So if you're looking for a Beatles discography, Bruce Spicer is your man. I can't better it, and there's no point me even attempting to better it. So no, sorry, I won't be doing it.
No. Okay. Fair enough. By the way, all the questions that people have asked have all involve you doing more work. By the way, so that's good news and bad news. It means
Good news, bad news. Yeah.
bad news is your spare time might go out the window, but the good news is that people like the way that you write.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much. No, it's
So,
much appreciated. Much
so there you
appreciated.
go. So Stevie says, are there any have you got any plans to update the John and the George books for things that have come out since? Like,
Um,
for example, I'm not sure whether there would even be enough material, but obviously there's been loads of Lennon compilations and the ultimate mixes and all that sort of stuff. And with
it's
with George, the All Things Must Pass.
yeah, it's something that is constantly nagging away at the back of my mind because the McCartney series needs updating. New information keeps coming out all the time. Whether or not I get time to do it or not is another thing because it's a big job. So never say never, but I can't say when. But
Yeah,
it's there. It's nagging away at the
yeah,
back of my head.
yeah. So there you go, Stevie. It could happen.
It could happen. It
It
could
could
happen.
happen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this next thing's going to happen, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Uh,
Okay. Far away.
so Pato asks, how about doing the same for Ringo's solo career?
Well, you see, and I know that someone's already done it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Well, only recently, yeah, yeah.
recently. So it's been done. Um, could I improve on it? I could do it differently. I could do I could do my take on it.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Ringo is that until recently he wasn't really a songwriter.
No.
He relied heavily on interpreting other people's songs.
Mm.
And what can you say about that? It's very difficult when someone's not writing their own material; they're just
Yeah.
interpreting it. I think you're limited.
Yeah.
You're very limited in what you can say
Yeah.
about something. So I mean,
That's
check out.
kind
I can't remember who wrote this. Drumming is my madness. It's called. I can't remember
yes,
the name of
that's
the author.
it. I can't remember.
But check it out.
Andrew, I think. I
And
can't remember.
yeah, but check
Um,
it out. You can get it
yeah.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
So no, probably not. Next.
The next one. This is the final one, by the way.
Right.
Was asking what you think about Paul's habit. This is from Rich.
Yeah.
Paul's habit of kind of starting projects and not finishing them as far as releases goes. And I think
What you got in mind?
he's obviously talking about the archives here, but he's
All
also
right.
talking about things like the coloured vinyl issues that he started doing. We had quite a few of those, but that seems to have stopped as well. Do you think he'll return to that? Do you think he'll finish that, or is that it?
I think the coloured vinyl thing. I think the coloured vinyl thing. was basically more down to Universal Music.
Yeah.
But Universal Music saw there was a trend. Oh, vinyl sales are up, and people like coloured vinyl. So
Yeah.
let's reissue all those albums on coloured vinyl. I think it was probably driven more by Universal than by Paul McCartney. I think Paul McCartney certainly has more interest in the archive series.
Yeah.
That's much more of a hands-on thing. And as we said earlier, whether he finishes it or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
But for the coloured vinyl, I think that's purely down to Universal Music. It's that they're a record label. It's their job to have those albums available. Well, they should be repressing them anyway. Well, let's do them on coloured vinyl and make it something. I think.
Well, there should be, and there'd certainly be there's certainly a market for those albums that come from the predominantly CD era. I'm thinking about things like Driving Rain, Memory Was Full, Off the Ground. I mean, all those albums very, very expensive to buy now secondhand. You're looking at about 200 quid, to buy those albums. So there would be quite a big take up, I think, if those albums were to come out on vinyl again. That would be really, really good, and people that would.
Oh no, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. And as I said, Universal's a record label. It's supposed to keep all this stuff on catalog. That's what record labels do,
Yeah.
So
I mean, there shouldn't really be anything by a Beatle that's out of print, really.
No, exactly. I mean, Dark Horse, they've just re-released all of George's albums on the Dark Horse label. Why isn't Universal doing the same with all of the Beatles? All of the Lennon stuff, the Harrison stuff, Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr's got a huge body of work, and I'm sure there are a number of Ringo Starr albums that have never been on vinyl.
There are.
Yeah.
Quite a
Vertical Man. Vertical Man ever been on vinyl?
I think
So
Rama, I think Liverpool 8. I don't think it ever has.
Yeah. So there's room for it, and they should be doing it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to just show some pages from the book? It's difficult for me to do, but just show like how you sort of display, record labels and coloured vinyl and that sort of thing, so people can see, some of the images that you've got. I've got this one here. So this is something like, it's quite hard for me to hold up.
Yeah. Okay. So
something for like the Tug of War archive. John includes, the little CD pouches and the CDs themselves, so you can see what they look like. John's holding up the Wings Over America archive edition, all the stuff that comes in it, the CD.
So you can get the record labels and the CD labels. There you go. So there's bloody Beetroots. So you get single sleeves, US promos, European promos. Try and include as much visual information as possible, because I think it makes for a more interesting book. If it was just text, I think it'd be a little bit boring.
Yeah, so that's
something to look at when you're sat on the loo.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Various editions.
They all follow the same format. You get album covers, inner sleeves, record labels. Here we go. We've got the CDs, the singles that came out, record store day, things like that. So there are a lot of images. There's a lot of text, and there also are a lot of images as well. Yeah.
Great stuff. So that's it. Songs he was singing, Volume 5 by John Blaney, available in all good record stores, maybe.
No,
or just online.
Bookshops.
Bookshops. Did I say record stores? Did I say record? I meant bookstores. Obviously, but obviously, Amazon are stocking it. It's 25.
Amazon. You can buy it. You can buy it if you buy it directly from me. I've finally got into the 21st century. I've got a website, which is John Blaney online. Just type in John Blaney and it'll come up. You can buy it from me, and I'll sign it as well. I will deface it personally for you if you'd like for me.
Yeah.
And it's £1 cheaper than Amazon. There we go.
Well, there you go. So there you go. Get your
You
signed
can't ask
copy.
for more than that.
You can't ask for more than that. A signed copy of this book. You know where to go, to John's website. Okay, John, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been very nice having a chat with you.
More than welcome. I hope everyone goes out and buys this book. And
So do I.
yeah,
Please buy my book.
John needs you to buy this book because he's been saving up for that Ringo book. He wants to buy it for Christmas.
No, what I'm really saving up for was those Red and Blue albums. But there we go. That's another story.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't delved into them yet, then?
Not yet. No, I'm waiting. I've already got them 4 times.
Yeah.
Do I need them for a 5th? Yeah.
Well, it's the remixes, isn't it? It's the remixes. It's the thing.
Well, true, but that's another story. We can maybe have another chat at some other time about the remixes, if you like.
Yeah, we can. We can. Yeah. We'll leave it for a few months because I think everyone's a little bit red and blued out at the moment.
Yeah,
it seems to have been, what with that and Now and Then. What do you think of Now and Then, by the way, John?
Of the 3 Beatles songs, I think it is technically a fantastic piece of work. What they did with Lennon's vocals, it blew me away. I really, because I was familiar with the demo.
Yeah.
And then when you hear Lennon's vocals, they go, "Wait, how did they do that? Take that off of the set," because it sounds like it was recorded in a proper studio with expensive microphones.
Yeah.
Musically, I think it's okay. It really, first time I heard it, I kind of thought, yeah, it's okay. It's not my favorite of the 3 songs. If I was going to rank the 3 songs, and who doesn't like a good ranking?
Everyone likes a good rank.
Good ranking. I would say Real Love would be my favorite. Free as a Bird would come next, and Now and Then would be 3rd. That's how I would rank them. Leave your comments in the comment section.
Yeah, I would probably go the same. But obviously it's fantastic to have this now. Finally.
I'm not knocking it down. I mean, when you went out and bought that in 1976, did you honestly think that 23 years into the 21st century you would be buying a new Beatles record?
No.
Never in a million years did you think
that.
So, that in itself is something wonderful,
It is.
So thank you very much, Beatles, for spreading the joy, because that's what they've done. They've made everybody's lives a little bit happier by putting that record out, which is a good thing.
I think the feedback from it has been sort of 90% positive, I think, from Beatles. Yeah. I mean, there'll always be people out to knock them, but from Beatles fans, I think from what I've seen on my channel and looking at other people's channels as well, I'd say it's about 90% positive. So that's good. That's good. That's
very good, because even back in the 60s, there were people who, I don't like the new Beatles single very much. What do you mean? It's Hey Jude. What do you mean you don't like it?
Well, it goes on a bit long, doesn't it?
A bit, doesn't it? That inside, it's all distorted and horrible.
Yeah, I could have done with cutting it down to 4 minutes.
It's always been the same.
Yeah. Anyway, John, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you again.
Likewise. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed myself.
One more plug for the book, Paul McCartney, the songs he was singing, Volume 5, 2010 to 2019. Go and get it, kids. Thanks very much, John. I hope everyone has enjoyed this interview. And if you want to say anything about the book, if you've got the book, do leave a comment down in the to say something down in the comments what you think of the book, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, or anything you want to say. I'm sure John will be interested to see the feedback, as would I as well. Okay, right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.